In this video, I want to talk about why Doomfist is a problem and more importantly, how to fix him. Currently, Doomfist is strong and playable, but for the wrong reasons, and that is one of the major issues on why the character sucks to play as and against. He's also extremely buggy and inconsistent, which I will get into later, but I want to talk about his balance issues right now. In Doom's current state, he's kind of a punch bot. What that means is majority of Tank Doom's value comes from empowered punch, which should not be the case. It's the easiest way to play the character and also the most frustrating thing to play against. Everything Doomfist does outside of the empowered punch gameplay loop doesn't really get that much value anymore, even though it takes more skill to play Doom that way. It feels really bullshit to get hit by empowered punch, especially if someone else gave it to him, and making the decision of shooting block or not is not a fun mechanic to play against either. I have 4 options on how to fix Doomfist, and what I mean by fixing Doomfist is making him less frustrating to play into, on top of making him more skillful and have more consistent value outside of the empowered punch gameplay loop. Let's start with option number 1, which is to keep Doomfist how he is right now. This is probably the worst option. I'm going to be breaking down each ability on Doomfist so you can understand why this character is so reliant on his empowered punch for value. Let's start with Power Block. This ability is way too strong right now. It builds Empowered Punch too easily and it lasts 2.5 seconds, which in my opinion is too long. Normal Punch, it's alright. Empowered Punch, balance wise, it's decent. It's not overpowered or too weak. Slam, this ability is so bad. They keep nerfing it and it does like no damage. It makes Doom more reliant on his Empowered Punch for value due to how bad it feels. Primary Fire, in Season 9 they buffed everyone's health pulls, which made the Primary Fire not as good as it once was. Before the Season 9 changes, the only buff that Primary Fire needed was a tighter spread and maybe slightly faster reload, but now it needs a damage buff. Ultimate, it's too strong, and the way they balance Doom's ultimate is by forcing it to be valued as an ultimate, which I think is a bad idea. I will explain more about that in option number 2. His passive, it's decent. The way the game has been balanced overall happens to be a indirect nerf to Doom's non-empowered punch playstyle. Like once the Season 9 changes came out, which increased everyone's health pool, it killed that playstyle completely. He became extremely reliant on empowered punch for his main source of value, and that is problematic. It doesn't help that Doomfist's movement techs have been broken for 19 seasons. The movement he had in the beta assists with that non-empowered punch playstyle, so it's important that his movement is fixed properly. I will explain that near the end of the video. So yeah, that is the current version of Doomfist, so how do we fix this? How do you make him take more skill and make him less frustrating to play against? And push this empowered punch gameplay loop to the side so it's not his main source of value. Let's start with option number 2. Go back to how Doomfist was in the beta, but obviously with some changes and adjustments. Power Block. The duration should be 2 seconds or less and require more raw damage to get empowered punch. Additionally, the slow movement penalty while blocking should be removed as well. The purpose of these changes is to reduce the frequency of empowered punch and also make playing against block less annoying by allowing players to shoot Doomfist more without the risk of him getting empowered punch so easily. Doom's defense mainly comes from his movement, positioning, and his passive. If you are putting yourself in situations where you have to use block as a defense ability, then you're kinda using it wrong. Block slows down your movement, which makes you easier to hit, so you end up taking more damage than you intended when you put yourself in those situations. It's kinda the opposite of what you expect a tank block ability to do, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't want Doom's block ability to be used or balanced as a typical tank block ability because he doesn't need it. As I said earlier, he uses his mobility, passive, and positioning to live, and nobody wants to play with or against block slop, especially on a mobility hero like Doomfist. When you block as Doomfist, generally you want to AFK and let people shoot you, that way you can get empowered punch. Intentionally dodging shots while blocking will risk you not getting empowered punch. So being slowed down while blocking doesn't make that much sense for what it's actually used for, as it only affects you in a negative way when you're using the ability as a defense ability, which you should generally not put yourself in that position. I am not saying block is never used as a defense ability, but you should definitely reduce the situations you put yourself in where it's required to be used as a defense ability. Normal punch. Maybe it should do a bit more damage than melee or the same damage. The wall impact angle buff should get nerfed to 50 degrees, it's currently 55. Increasing the angle to 55 is more of a band-aid solution to bogus sliders, and 55 degrees can screw you over when you don't want someone to impact the wall. Empowered punch. Right now, if Doom's empowered punch isn't charged all the way, then it's kind of useless. Short charge punches feel underwhelming, so increasing the stun duration upon wall impact will make short to medium charge punches more meaningful. Powered punch should knock back enemies further than normal punch. If you didn't know, they knock back the exact same distance, which is not a problem. And if you're wondering why I'm making empowered punch stronger, keep in mind block would be getting a big nerf, which means he won't be getting empowered punch 500 times a match. he's barely going to get Empowered Punch, and because of that, Empowered Punch should be more effective due to how much more difficult it is to achieve. It ends up feeling like a small chance at using a low skill, high value ability you earned by risking your life rather than getting a strong ability you didn't risk anything for with current Doom. Yes, Empowered Punch will still be frustrating to play against, but at least it's once in a while and not multiple times a fight. So it might feel less annoying overall, as using Empowered Punch isn't guaranteed value. You can miss or be forced to use it as an escape ability, or just use it as a quick tap punch for some overhealth. If you don't want Empowered Punch to be strong or exist, then you have to remove it, which I will explain later in option number 3. If you want to make Empowered Punch really weak, then I wouldn't see the purpose of it existing. Slam. Go back to how it was in the beta. Slam damage needs to be increased. Going from 200 HP to 150 HP was a good threat level. It didn't need more or less damage, but going from 250 HP to 200 HP is not threatening at all. There's a big difference on how you play the game when you are at 150 HP and 200 HP. Slam range nerfs need to be reverted. Slam cooldown should be 6 seconds. Slam should have a built-in slow effect to it. This was a thing in the beta before they took it away. You got to fix all of the broken movements on Slam. It's been 19 seasons of inconsistent and clunky movement that heavily affects all the Slam engagements in a bad way. I don't understand why this isn't a priority. Primary Fire, it needs more damage to make up for the Season 9 health changes and maybe a slightly tighter spread. Ultimate, remove the slow effect, remove the healing, make his ultimate much quicker to get so it's more of a fourth ability rather than a strong ultimate. His ult should instantly reset cooldowns, that way you don't AFK in the air to get your cooldowns back. Maybe remove Empowered Punch from ultimate because we are buffing his Empowered Punch. What I'm doing here will enable more frequent aggressive plays. Because Doomfist lacks a third movement ability, this will allow Doomfist to commit Slam and Punch together more frequently and use his ult to get out or to refresh his cooldowns to re-engage again. It was way more fun to play when his ult sucked and was faster to get during early Overwatch 2. Making Doom's ultimate an actual ultimate like how it is right now makes it a little bullshit to play against and slows down his overall gameplay loop. Passive, I think it's fine as is. I am not sure if it will need a buff or a nerf if these changes were to go through. Everything I said for option number 2 isn't some brand new concept. This is basically how Doomfist functioned during the beta and early parts of Overwatch 2, and he was the healthiest and best state he's ever been in during those days. Empowered Punch being insanely strong back then is probably the only exception here. It was pretty busted, but everything else was amazing. Option number 2 switches the main gameplay loop to the non-Empowered Punch playstyle. Not only does the character take more skill now, but he's now far less frustrating to play against because Empowered Punch and block isn't the main gameplay of the hero. You will only occasionally get Empowered Punch, and if you fuck it up, then it's okay because the stuff you do outside of Empowered Punch isn't useless anymore. Option number 3. This might be the healthiest, fairest, most skillful version of Doomfist yet. Keep in mind, this is somewhat an untested concept. Remove block and Empowered Punch and give him Uppercut. Hold on, don't roll your eyes yet. I'm not saying that because I miss Uppercut or want DPS Doomfist back. I'm being very genuine here when I say I think this is a healthier option for Tank Doom, so give me a chance to explain. As I said earlier, block is mainly used as a give me Empowered Punch ability rather than a defense ability, so Doom doesn't need block to live. He needs his mobility, overhealth passive, and good positioning, and so on. The point of option number 2 was to make the non-Empowered Punch playstyle on Doomfist the main playstyle while pushing the Empowered Punch playstyle to the side. But even when doing that, block and Empowered Punch still exist, which will still be a problem, just not a frequent problem. Option number 3 is going all out on the non-Empowered Punch playstyle by completely removing the annoying part of Doomfist's kit. Giving Doomfist an Uppercut opens up his combos and engagements way more than what block and punch can do. Obviously it won't be strong as Empowered Punch, but I see no problem in that. Now you might say, well, Doomfist has a lot of damage and he's just a DPS now, what's the point of him being a tank? Well, you can just adjust numbers. Maybe Slam being 50 damage is fine now since Uppercut exists. Maybe Primary Fire doesn't need a damage buff anymore. Doomfist will still do Doomfist things in the game just without Empowered Punch and block. If we take Doomfist from option number 1 and option number 2 and break down what the character does, it will be the exact same thing as option number 3 but with Uppercut. Tank Doom's entire existence from the beta to the current version of the game has always been a squishy yet high burst damage, AoE, crowd control, disrupting tank hero. You're just shifting a bit of the AoE crowd control stuff to the single target side of things. Removing a Empowered Punch might require Doomfist to get more overhealth from his abilities, but I don't know. That's why earlier I said it's somewhat an untested concept, but yeah, it leans all the way into the non-Empowered Punch gameplay loop, which I also believe would make him way more fair to play against while making the hero harder to play as, and also just more fun in general. And okay, look, if you insist on keeping Power Block, then I have another offer. Remove Empowered Punch, keep block, and introduce Uppercut. Uppercut and block can be on a shared cooldown. Using any one of these abilities will make both abilities go on cooldown together, or they could just be separate cooldowns. Doomfist has a automatic reload, so his R hotkey is free for a fourth ability, so it should be controller friendly. I really believe they should playtest this one, I'm not gonna lie. Option number 4 is to bring back DPS Doomfist. I actually have valid reasons on why DPS Doomfist should come back. No, it's not because I miss DPS Doomfist. I actually prefer Tank Doomfist from the beta more than DPS Doom. But if DPS Doom were to come back, we need to remove his punch one-shot. His punch one-shotting should have never been a thing. It was the easiest way to play Doomfist and had the least amount of counterplay compared to his combo engagements. If you guys don't know why Doomfist was reworked to a tank in the first place, you can pause the video and read what Jeff Goodman said. He was the one who led the Tank Doomfist rework. Overwatch 2 was supposed to have very little CC from the DPS and support role, and tanks were going to be the main holders of CC. Because DPS Doom's kit was entirely CC, they reworked them to a tank, which is understandable. However, I feel like that reasoning in current Overwatch doesn't apply anymore as they brought back CC in the game. Aside from the CC reasons, I also think Doomfist would be healthy for Overwatch because Overwatch 2's balance lately has been getting far too casual. It feels like the basketball rim was lowered while wearing elbow and knee pads and a protective helmet, all while standing on top of those gym mats. So having a hero like DPS Doomfist to skill check some of you, especially the ones on the support role, is definitely needed. DPS Doom is also easy to counter, he had predictable movement and a tank hitbox for a DPS hero. You also don't need CC to deal with him, and if you died to a DPS Doomfist, it was always a skill issue. He didn't come out of nowhere and one-shot you, you just forgot about him or didn't pay attention to the loud audio cues that took you 2 to 3 business days to react to. Option number 5, mirror watch Doomfist. No. So yeah, that's the balance issues on Doomfist and potential solutions for him. You may have noticed I gave no perk ideas, and honestly, it will be impossible to tell you what perks he should get until his power is adjusted correctly. And then at that point, you can discuss perk ideas once he's at a more balanced state. Now, I want to talk about his bugs, but don't worry, I won't deep dive into that as I kind of already have videos on it that I will refer you to. Number 1 is his movement techs have been broken for 19 seasons now. And no, I'm not joking. You can watch this detailed video of what happened, showing you before and after his broken movement. Even if you aren't utilizing Doomfist techs intentionally, you will naturally come across his techs multiple times per game just by playing the hero, and that broken movement will affect you in a negative way. His movement right now is extremely clunky and inconsistent. The movement he had in the beta allowed you to have micro control over his movement, which is what made him really fun to play because not only did it give you a ton of skill expression, it actually made the non-empowered punch playstyle even better to play, which is so important for Doomfist. Closing a gap between you and an enemy because you executed multiple techs in perfection on the spot is a skill that most non-movement players don't understand. Here's a little clip example of where I executed multiple techs in perfection in the beta. And here's how it looks if I do it now. Where is the creativity? All the Doomfist players literally look the same now. His skill expression with his movement feels almost non-existent anymore. I really recommend you watch the video as I visually show the comparison of before and after his broken movement so you can see how his creativity got stripped away. Outside of creativity reasons, I also show you how the broken movement affects you even when you're just trying to play the character normally like most Doom mains who aren't min-maxing his techs. Number 2, he has so many bugs and it generally affects his gameplay and balance and it makes him inconsistent, which is problematic. Consistency is the most important thing for a hero. Imagine playing Cassidy and there's always going to be 1 or 2 bullets in your gun that does 0 damage. You know how awful that would feel and how much that would affect your gameplay? You can learn more about his bugs by checking out the detailed Doomfist Bug List document, which shows you video proof of the bugs and shows you replication steps with a grading system of what bug feels the worst to experience and what we feel like is the most important bug to fix first. Trust me, there's a lot of bugs with Doomfist, and they barely get fixed, which I don't understand because there's literally a list with detailed explanations of these issues. As a player, I don't know what else we can do to make this easier for the devs. So yeah, that's the end of the video. I've been wanting to make this video for a really long time since I always get asked about Doom balance and stuff, and it was sad to see Doomfist tank rework go from a fluid, fun character with insane skill expression to something so clunky and inconsistent with a one-dimensional playstyle. I don't know how you fumble something like that. Look, I'm not trying to shit on the devs, but from a player perspective, I feel like the devs don't care about this hero on top of not knowing how to play him, which is why he's balanced the way he is right now. And the fact that they barely fix anything on this character. You have to give me the greatest excuse possible on why his bugs aren't getting fixed when you have a detailed Google document showing how these bugs negatively affect the hero. These aren't bugs that happen 1 in 100 matches. These bugs happen multiple times every match or every other match. It really affects the balance, fun, and consistency of his gameplay. And anytime they fix a bug on Doomfist, a new one appears that doesn't get fixed, or whenever they fix a bug, it's just a bad band-aid fix that introduces a new issue that doesn't get looked into. You would think something like this would be a priority, but I guess not. Anyways, enjoy the rest of the gameplay. No rock.
Yeah, it's gonna come from you and me. Jesus.
Why are you there?
Why are you
I'm kidding.
You.
I gotta go for a back line.
Oh, no cooldown.
Meteor strike.
Damn.
Payload is moving. That's the experiment. Compromised.
see you, Brick. Back up a little bit.
Oh, I can get that clear.
Let's sleep. Oh, he had hug. Oh, he didn't have hug.
Okay.
Ash is
Look, give me
back.
the right, give me the right.
Damn, I thought I was still gonna be in this room. Wow, how did I get hit by that?
Fuck low. They're in the right side.
Reno TP.
Sorry, I'm right.
No bubble.
Damn, I didn't get the bounce I wanted.
I'm reloading. Good job.
Ah, I never had a soda.
Okay. My bad.
The voice crack, alright.
No. I swear, like, I work with kids and I think they got me sick.
Dang, if you work with kids there.
I work with a lot of kids that touch each other and spit on each other.
Okay. Did you know that?
We're for like before and after schools in my county.
That's a hog.
Oh no.
So what? Near me behind you, Trey.
Yo, what up?
I like it better than
That real video.
Oh, he's pissed. So mad at that. I don't know.